The Australian Open has a way of delivering moments that feel ripped straight from a tennis fairy tale. And on Sunday in Melbourne, one of those stories belonged to a young British qualifier who refused to be intimidated by rankings, reputation, or expectation. Arthur Fery, a name still unfamiliar to many casual fans, announced himself on the Grand Slam stage with a stunning upset that sent ripples through the tournament and left a proud mother watching from the stand with tears in her eyes. At just 23 years old, ranked outside the world's top 180 and stepping into the main draw at Melbourne Park for the very first time, Fery was not supposed to be here this deep. He certainly wasn't supposed to be dismantling a seeded opponent. Yet under the bright lights of John Cain Arena, Fery played with a maturity, composure, and fearlessness that belied his ranking, defeating 20th seed Flavio Cobolli in straight sets, 7-6, 1, 6-4, 6-1. For Fery, the victory was about far more than a place in the second round. It was validation. It was proof that the long hours on empty courts, the grind through qualifying rounds, and the quiet belief shared with his inner circle were not in vain. He had already achieved something meaningful simply by navigating the brutal qualifying stages, but this one elevated the moment into something unforgettable. After the match, Fery's reaction was calm, but clearly emotional. He spoke of satisfaction rather than shock, pride rather than disbelief. Qualifying for the Australian Open main draw for the first time had already been a milestone, but winning a match once there made the achievement feel complete. For a player still carving out his place in the professional game, it was a reminder that he belongs on this stage. This was an entirely uncharted territory for Fery. Just a year earlier at Wimbledon, he had experienced a remarkably similar breakthrough. On home soil, he stunned another 20th seed in the opening round, defeating Australian Alexei Popyrin to reach the second round. That result hinted at his ability to rise to the occasion when given a chance. Melbourne confirmed it was no coincidence. What made this Australian Open victory even more special was who was there to witness it. When Fery battled his way through the final round of qualifying, his mother Olivia wasted no time booking a flight from Europe to Australia. A former professional tennis player herself, Olivia competed on the tour in the early 1990s and featured in the women's doubles at Roland Garros in 1991. She understood exactly what her son was facing, and she knew moments like this don't come around often. The decision to travel halfway across the world wasn't planned in advance. It was spontaneous, driven by belief and love. Once Fery secured his place in the main draw, she simply asked if she could come. His answer was immediate. Of course. The distance was long, the journey exhausting, but the opportunity to share this moment together was priceless. In the stands, Olivia watched her son play with confidence and clarity, handling pressure situations with poise. She saw him navigate the tension of a first-set tiebreak, refuse to fade physically, and then accelerate as the match wore on. She saw the product of years of work, sacrifice, and persistence come together in front of one of the world's biggest tennis audiences. Fery joked afterward that at least he had made the trip worthwhile. With one victory secured, his mother was guaranteed to see at least 2 matches. And if momentum continued, perhaps even more. It was said lightly, but underneath was the awareness of how rare and precious these shared moments can be in a sport that demands constant travel and separation from family. Despite her own background in professional tennis, Olivia has taken a step back from offering technical advice. That phase of their relationship belongs to the past, when Arthur was younger and still learning the basics of the game. Now, she trusts his coaching team to handle the tactical and technical side. Her role, like that of many parents, has evolved into something just as important, providing perspective, emotional support, and life advice beyond the baseline. That balance has served Fery well. On court, he looks increasingly self-sufficient, capable of making adjustments without panic. Against Cobolli, that composure was evident from the opening games. The Italian, ranked inside the world's top 25 and coming off a strong 2024 season, arrived in Melbourne with legitimate expectations. He reached the Wimbledon quarterfinals last year, pushing his way deep into the tournament before falling to Novak Djokovic. He also captured ATP titles in Bucharest and Hamburg, cementing his reputation as one of the tour's rising forces. Yet from early on, something seemed off. Cobolli appeared uncomfortable, frequently clutching his midsection and struggling to maintain his usual rhythm. Whether it was a stomach issue or general physical discomfort, it clearly disrupted his game. Still, credit must go to Fery for capitalizing. Tennis does not reward sympathy. It rewards execution, and Fery executed relentlessly. The opening set was tightly contested, with neither player willing to concede ground. Fery matched Cobolli shot for shot, absorbing pace and redirecting it with clean timing. When the set reached a tiebreak, it was the Briton who raised his level. He played freely, trusting his strokes, racing through the breaker with authority and leaving Cobolli searching for answers. Winning that first set proved pivotal. From there, Fery's confidence grew with every game. He began stepping inside the baseline, dictating rallies, and exploiting openings whenever they appeared. Cobolli, meanwhile, struggled to find solutions, his frustration growing as the match slipped away. The second set followed a similar pattern, competitive, but with Fery in control of the key moments. He stayed patient on serve, protected his games efficiently, and struck when opportunities arose. When he closed it out 6-4, the momentum had fully shifted. By the third set, the gap between the two players was unmistakable. Fery surged ahead, playing with freedom and belief, while Cobolli's resistance faded. The final scoreline, 6-1 in the third, reflected not just physical issues on the Italian side, but the confidence and clarity of a player seizing his moment. For Cobolli, the loss was a harsh blow. Coming into the season with expectations of a strong Australian Open showing, an early exit was the last thing he needed. His recent success, including 2 ATP titles and a deep Wimbledon run, made this defeat even more jarring. Whether illness or nerves played the larger role, the result will force reflection and regrouping as the season continues. For Fery, however, the story is just beginning. This one reinforces a growing pattern. When given the opportunity on a big stage, he rises. He has now defeated 2 20th seeds in first rounds of Grand Slams within the span of a year. That is not luck. That is evidence of a player who thrives under pressure and believes he belongs among the best. The Australian Open has always been a place where qualifiers can rewrite their narratives. The long qualifying week, played under relentless heat and scrutiny, often forges resilience. Players who survive it arrive battle-tested, mentally sharp, and fearless. Fery embodied that spirit perfectly. As he looks ahead to the second round, expectations will shift. He is no longer an unknown. Opponents will prepare for him. Crowds will recognize his name. But if Sunday proved anything, it's that Arthur Fery is comfortable carrying that weight. And somewhere in the stands, his mother will be watching, proud not just of the result, but of the journey. From junior courts to qualifying battles, from Europe to Melbourne, this was a moment years in the making. The Australian Open thrives on stories like this. Stories of belief, family, resilience, and the courage to step onto the biggest stage and swing freely. Arthur Fery didn't just win a match on Sunday. He reminded the tennis world why this sport remains so compelling. Because on any given day, with the right mix of preparation and heart, rankings can be ignored, seeds can fall, and new names can rise. And in Melbourne, under the Australian sun, Arthur Fery made sure his name was one everyone would remember.